Your city, your podcast.
To the delight of this crowd, McClendon marches down the dugout steps with first base.
McCutcheon's throw. The runner breaks to the plate. Here's the throw. Wow. He is out. The Buccos win. That ball's hit well to left center field. Back toward the track. And that ball is gone.
You are listening to the North Shore 9 podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, make sure to watch NS9 Live every Thursday on Twitch and help support by becoming a patron. Let's go Bucks!
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, our host, Tyler and Jim. What is up, fellas? Come on now. Come on. Are we really going to start the show like this? I'll take that as a yes. I'm going to have to carry this whole time. I'm going to go an hour by myself with you two just staring at me.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't mean to do that. Let me tell you, boys, I don't want to put us on a sidetrack here, but this entire week, I've put away at least 16 Hallmark Christmas movies. I am so happy.
Wait, you said you did what? You said you did what?
I have put away at least 16 Hallmark movies.
Why?
God, I love them.
But why?
They are awesome.
Jim,
you sound like my dad. You sound like my dad.
You sound like my mom.
They make me happy.
Isn't there there's that one Hallmark movie that they made a song about?
They fall in love
or no, what was the Christmas one where like they made a song about it, or the song made the movie about shoes? And like, doesn't somebody die at the end? It's like not a very happy movie.
Doesn't sound like any of the Hallmark movies I've watched.
There's some movie about shoes and then someone dies at the end.
Listen, this is my time of year where I watch Hallmark movies because we all work in customer service slash sales. This is the time of year where work actually becomes kind of hellish if you're like me and not ahead of the game and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's on your back of, hey, we need this done. We have end of year goals, blah, 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 blah,
None of this is an excuse.
Yeah, no, I need something to come home to because I have no sports to watch right now. Everything sucks.
Find a girlfriend.
I don't want to watch Steelers. The Buckeyes suck. I have nothing going for me. So I come home, I watch my goddamn Hallmark Christmas movies. Let me have it.
I already commented in the chat. Hallmark movie, send him help. I agree. What do you
They are awesome. I've been watching them for like 5 years straight.
This is
like
the reason,
30 days straight of just Hallmark Christmas. I love it.
This is the reason that there's no more baseball.
Well, no, that's because, well, we'll get to that.
I've not watched a Hallmark movie. I don't plan on watching any Hallmark movies.
You're an idiot.
And there's other sports on, so I'm not quite sure what you're saying.
I'm saying I don't want to watch other sports. If my teams aren't good, I don't want to watch.
Tyler's a fair weather fan.
No, I don't want to watch other teams play when my team's bad. It makes me sad. I don't want to be sad.
You should stop talking about the Pirates. Why'd you come on this podcast? Dumb idiot.
There's a reason.
You dummy. All right,
there's a reason that people
I don't want to talk about Hallmark.
There's a reason people think I'm a negative one, and it's because all I do is watch stupid Pirates. And I've grown up watching this stupid team, and I don't have the brain capacity to be polite like you two. I'm a negative person for a reason.
See, if you want to be happy, you'd stop watching bad teams like the Steelers and start watching good teams like the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, in my lifetime, you've had one playoff. Oh, no, never mind.
go Chad Pennington, baby.
All right.
Still the best quarterback.
So what are we
since
gonna?
Dan
Hey,
Reynolds.
so what are we gonna talk about today?
We're going to talk about, first off, we're going to talk about baseball and then no baseball. Because I'm still feeling a bit disgruntled. And now, of course, there's no more baseball to talk about. So all we have left is this bad taste in our mouth that Ben Cherington says where the Pirates are just going to be bad. They're going to suck. And you know what really the tipping point for me was? When the Cubs signed Marcus Stroman last night. Like, that's just the Cubs are looking at this the right way. And they had a half-season rebuild.
Are they though?
Yes. Yeah. They're like, this division's terrible. Let's go ahead and just, all right, so we'll be not good this year, but then let's make ourselves be good next year.
There might not be a division.
I mean, there might not, but they're preparing themselves. If there is, they're in a better position right now than the Pirates even are. They sucked last year. They tore down last year. Their rebuild's going to last a half of a season, and they're already adding. They went like, I'm not saying the Pirates should have got Marcus Stroman by any means, but it's like, I feel like the Cubs are sitting back thinking that, people are going to make moves and no one did. And like, well, then screw it. Let's do it. We'll be the smart ones. Now, of course, they have more funds and resources to do so. I mean, they can accelerate a rebuild because of money a lot better than the Pirates or the Reds or the Brewers. But I mean, come on, Pirates. You're going to let like some more years waste away. The Cubs are going to come back. Seriously, that was the whole point of this. You see the division's terrible. The Cubs are rebuilding. The Reds are tearing apart now. Like, you have the opportunity to go in here and start getting better, become a good team, and the Cubs are going to be better than the Pirates quicker.
I'm not entirely sure if the Cubs are planning on doing a rebuild. They kind of look more like they're doing a reload than a rebuild. I mean, you look at what the team's going to look like next year, and like by no means is this Cubs team like going to be awful.
Well,
I mean, you go down their lineup, and it's not bad. I mean, do they have Chris Bryant anymore? No,
it's not.
But like,
good.
They don't have Baez, but like this lineup's not bad. And honestly, the pitching staff's probably better than it was. They added Miley. They added Stroman.
But everything you're saying, though, is because of additions. Right. Because of additions. They added Miley. Yeah. They added Stroman. They added Gomes. Like, they already still had, like, they didn't, the only thing they really didn't tear away with, shockingly, was also their catcher, Wilson Contreras. And they're keeping him, and they signed Gomes. Imagine that. Two good catchers. Who would have thought you might need those when you compete?
Hey,
yeah, I said my piece on the Pirates on Tuesday.
I know you did.
Yesterday I was like, you know what? I was like, since then. I was like, you know what? Yesterday I was like, let's just be positive. I don't really like. I've accepted the fact we're going to suck next year. Let's just roll.
What day did they sign Perez?
Wednesday. Yesterday.
Wait, yeah, that's tough. Perez.
Oh, yeah, Roberto. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of. Never mind. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Watching Gomes go while picking up a guy that people are flailing about his 24 home runs 2 years ago.
3 years ago.
It's tough.
All I've heard was he is a two-time Gold Glove. He's not a drop-off defensively from Stallings. Cool. I get that. I agree with that.
Great.
He probably could be slightly better. I agree. I'll give him that. He might actually be a little bit better. And that's not taking anything away from Jacob Stallings, who also is a Gold Glove winner now this year, because his defense has tremendously improved, and he's done really, really well defensively. Perez probably could be a better catcher defensively. But his offense is dog shit. So don't tell me they're in the same stratosphere. Defensively, yes, in one aspect of the game, which is a very important aspect of the game as far as a catcher goes. That's why Jacob Stallings, like, I will take average offense, right? Even slightly below average offense. Like we talked about. I mean, Yadi Molina is basically what Jacob Stallings has given you these past few years. And Yadi Molina he's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't trade him for Michael Trout. Right? But you trade Jacob Stallings and it's like, oh, who cares? We'll take up Roberto and then we'll slide him in there because defensively they're the same. He's been a part-time player.
Fun fact.
For how long? He gives you nothing offensively.
Fun fact about Roberto Perez. He was actually a better hitter than Kevin Newman last year.
Do we have to go there?
But that's what I'm getting at. I'm sorry. He is the Kevin Newman of the catcher position. So again, you want to talk about, well, defensively, like, great. He's Kevin Newman. Defensively, Kevin Newman is one of the better shortstops in baseball. Kevin Newman probably should be not on this 40-man roster right now.
The Pirates currently, I mean, the way that their roster is constructed right now, I mean, you're right. They have 2 starters who had WRC pluses less than 60 last year.
It's 3 outs. Especially if there is no DH, it's just 3 straight
Even
outs.
if there is a DH, who are you going to put a DH? Just someone who also can't hit? Like,
I don't know. We can figure that later. As the current roster stands right now with no DH, it's 3 automatic outs. You have a 6-man lineup. That's not good. You have a 6-man, not good lineup. Now, it's not all terrible by any means, right? But it's not good. But it's a 6-man lineup. And then you have your 3 outs.
Man, we discussed it ad nauseum during the season that this was their chance to add to the team, show the fans you actually give a shit. And I know that there's a lot of feeling that the Stallings trade isn't a bad trade because they got some lottery tickets, I guess. And Stallings wasn't great. But it's the constant hoarding of mediocre prospects that drives me absolutely insane. Where we're in a window right now where people are talking about, hell, we'll talk about our group chat right now. Ryan mentioned that the Pirates need a guy like a Juan Soto, a Ronald Acuna. They have Brian freaking Reynolds. He's very good. They have Cabrian Hayes. He could be very good. They are not that far if they actually care. How long do we have to do this for?
I agree.
yeah.
One thing I'll always say too, I get what you're saying about the fans, and there is some truth to that. I mean, as an organization, there's some truth. But as a GM, I'm never going to do something for the fans. You guys might hate this, and people listening to this might hate this, but that's the 100% truth. I am not going to do a move for the fans. I'm going to do a move what's best for the direction of the team. So the fan part would be great too, Tyler. Like, show something for the fans, that'd be great too. But how about also let's show something for the guys you're trying to extend, or possibly 2 of them. Or let's go ahead and get this, because again, we keep talking. The timeline of the Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes is ticking. If you keep pushing this rebuild further and further down the road, it's closer and closer to them not being Pirates. And then you're at the position again where it's like, well, now, do we now just trade them away? Do we keep this going, this cycle going? Like, do you want to go ahead and capitalize on this window? Do you want to improve this year? Give Brian Reynolds an actual reason to say, yeah, I want to stay here, sign the extension, and then maximize his time being here? Or do you want to just waste it some more? He's been here since 2019. Let's waste 2 more years of him and then say, well, we can't keep you now because there's only 2 years left. There's only 1 year left. We got to trade you.
I don't want to overtake what you guys talked about on Tuesday, but at this point of what they're doing, what is the point of keeping Brian Reynolds? There's no reason to, because we're looking at a window that's not there. And we're talking about last year, he was a top 11 player in baseball positionally. Why keep him? What's the point?
Right.
You might as well just trade him now. He's not going to be What's the point of keeping him?
Yeah, and like I said, we kind of talked about this. It's just like we were thinking and hoping that 2022 was going to be that year that you finally saw not necessarily a competitive team in the terms of like going to be competing for a playoff spot, right? But like we would have liked to have seen some steps forward with this team in 2022. And it seems to be that the Pirates really have no interest in doing that. And so then you got to think, okay, then is 2023 that year that you begin to take steps forward, but you're not a playoff contender, right? Like you're not going to go from,
we'll see how that CBA goes.
Yeah, I mean, but we're not going to go from 100 to 105 loss team to all of a sudden 85 win team. It just doesn't happen that way. And so then it's like, okay, well then 2024 is 2024 really the first year where we're going to be competitive. And if that's the case, then you're looking at Brian Reynolds being a Pirate for 2024 and 2025. So then you go, and this is if you can't extend him, right? If you can extend him through 2027, then you know what? Cool. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if Brian Reynolds has interest in doing that right now. But that's kind of where we're looking at now. And then you have to think these are the Pirates we're talking about here, right? The Pirates probably aren't keeping Brian Reynolds the last year of his contract, right? So like if Brian Reynolds plays 2024 and he's a free agent after 2025, odds are Brian Reynolds is being shopped around, in 2025. Just so the Pirates get something for him as opposed to just losing him during free agency, right? So then you got to think, okay, is 1 year of Brian Reynolds. That's what we're talking about now. We're talking about a team with a window starting in 2024, having Brian Reynolds for 1 year. Is that worth him hanging on to now? Or like Tyler said, do you go ahead and just move him? Move him now. You could get a very good return for Brian Reynolds, most likely. I'm not really I don't really have a ton of faith that Ben Cherington's going to get like proper return for him, because I don't know if any team's going to be able to do that. But you'll get a good return for him if you trade him regardless, right?
Sure.
So that you have pieces then to help in 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, when they're going to have all these other guys who are showing up here in the next few years. So I mean, it's a debate. I could see both ways. An extension would really kind of squash everything. And hey, then let's go. But if there's no extension, then you really got to consider Brian Reynolds is never going to be worth more than he is now.
There's no consideration. You have to. Point blank. You have to.
I know what Jim's saying right now about the year, but we're talking about that because this team decided that we were going to punt for 3 years. And really, if you go back, we've been punting for since 2015. That's what they've been doing. So at this point, we have a freaking top 15 player that isn't a pitcher in baseball. Anka Brian Hayes, who he's probably a top 5 third baseman. Why do we have to keep dealing with this? There is talent there. Can you please just try a little bit? We're not asking for much. We just want to be at a 70 win mark next year. That's all we ask for. There is enough talent that is in AAA and AA coming up that you could be an 80 to 85 win team in 2023.
That's
Brian Hayes
would be the
is
natural
there.
Progression.
Brian Reynolds is there. What are we doing? Why are we wasting more time?
I have no arguments there. I agree with everything you said.
I'm frustrated. I know.
And
I'm
so,
sorry. I'm
to go
frustrated.
back to, as Jim, you pointed out, with 1 year left, you're going to trade Brian Reynolds. You're not going to let him ride out that contract and just walk away as a free agent. And you're absolutely correct, because a player like Brian Reynolds presumably, like at that time, he'll still be a good player, give or take a little bit, right? You're going to get actual value back. Like you probably could trade him and get a piece back that says, wow, like we can rejuvenate our farm with this, or this guy now slides in next year as this type of player, right? That type of player, I know, just hear me out, because like you want to talk about the Pirates cycles, right? I mean, I get the small market, whatever. For the people I would say you can keep them and just sign them, whatever. Regardless, you trade that player to get something in return. Stallings, what he presents, like Stallings, you can eat and say you can let him ride that out. Like I would be okay and comfortable in saying, like, I have Stallings for 3 more years. If I don't trade him and he walks to free agency, he's good. He's valuable to the team. He can be valuable to that bridge. Still having 2 catchers, you know what I mean? But if he walks away, as we saw today with still 3 years left, or I should say, as we saw 2 days ago or whatever it was, you know, it's not like he's bringing any game changers to the team. He brought a lot of, as Tyler said, depth of the same, like what the Pirates already have. They have 28 swingmen on the team. They have all kinds of middle relievers they can pop in there. Or, you know, I mean, you could just sign one for $4 million in 2025. You know, it's not as if what he brought in is really pushing the needle in the future. That's why this whole thing, just what everything that Stallings being traded represents is the problem. Not the trade in itself, even though I still think it was bad. It's just, you could let him walk away. Reynolds, you're going to make that trade all day long, and I would agree to it.
I'm going to cut Jim off real quick. I'm sorry, Jim. You had your Tuesday.
My
problem with the Stallings trade at this point is that, one, they have a very young pitching staff that we had talked about all year before the year. He's a very important piece. And my second most annoying part is there was nothing out there catcher-wise. And as we saw, they signed a scrub. And the other part of it, I don't remember now because I'm so angry. And it's Jacob Stallings, who I've hated.
That's the funny part.
That's the problem. It's Jacob Stallings, and I've hated him, and they didn't really have a reason to trade him.
And one thing I'll say here is, like, I feel like a lot of people on Twitter were like, why are you getting so upset about, you know, just Jacob Stallings? It's Jacob Stallings. Like, we're not talking about, you know, an all-star here even. And it's not really that I'm upset about Jacob Stallings. Like, I'm upset what that trade means. Like I said, I'm not really all that upset about just like the baseball move in particular. I'm just upset about what the trade means for the organization. And it's just not the way that I would have liked to have seen this team go. The trade did nothing but make the team worse in 2022. The team's going to be worse in 2022 because of that trade. And it's just a trade that didn't have to happen. Like, and you can argue with me all you want about what you think Zach Thompson is. Until I see him, you know, put together a full competent major league season, I'm going to think Zach Thompson is nothing but a fringe swingman in the major leagues. Congratulations on your first 75 innings pitched in Major League Baseball at age 28 or whatever. I'm not like ready to cement you into a starting rotation for the next 4 years. So that's really, I mean, I've talked about this so much, but yeah. I'm just more upset about just, I don't want to watch a crappy baseball team next year. Like, that's my thing. Like, the Pirates don't have to suck next year, right? Like, that's not something that we just have to accept and resign to. You can rebuild an organization, and at some point, you know, you have to start that uptick. And next year could have been that uptick. And all we did is just kind of kick the can down the road one more year is what it seemed like was happening right now. Who knows? Maybe this lockout ends and the Pirates do stuff afterwards. But as of right now, it seems like we're kicking the can down a year.
Yeah. Like Zach Thompson's stats last year in his 75 innings is essentially JT Brubaker in his first 75 innings.
You know what? I saw you tweet that.
Will.
I was hoping you were going to say it, and if not, I was going to remind you. I just pulled up JT Brubaker right now. You made it such a great point.
Like a 382.
382 ERA in his 77.2 innings through June 26th. I'm sorry. He had 77.2 innings. He had a 3.82 ERA. And we talked we were loving JT Brubaker, right? It's looking really, really good. Then what happened?
To be fair, JT Brubaker probably looked better. Like K to walk right, he looked way better.
You mean he actually struck out people?
Yeah.
Like that's what just bothers me too. You know, like when you take out Zach Thompson had a fine year when you look at the numbers, say he had a 3.24 ERA in 75 innings. You know, like when you look at that, you say those are good solid numbers, right? His first 4 starts, I feel like he struck out everybody. Right. As Jim pointed out, you said was 11 strikeouts. What would you say, Jim, his big thing was that one game?
Yeah, he's one of the only pitchers in the history of baseball to strike out 11 or more batters in one of his first 4 starts.
Those first 4 starts were incredible as far as the strikeouts go. What happened since then? He struck out 15% of the batters. Like 15%. That's terrible. His stuff isn't great. I don't see him being a good pitcher. He's a swingman. Just like,
and you look at
he's going to get
Nicholas
exposed the 150 innings.
And you look at Nicholas, and he's a Massillon, Northeast Ohio guy, but the guy's 22, and he hasn't figured out how to throw strikes. I can't get excited about that. I don't care if he throws 96. There's a handful of guys that do that.
Everybody does.
More than a handful.
Except for Zach Thompson.
Literally, if you get drafted, you throw 96.
I actually think Nicholas has a shot to be a starting pitcher. I think he'll ultimately be a relief pitcher, and I think he could be a good relief pitcher. Good fastball, good slider, right? And the command isn't going to be as big of an issue in the bullpen. But he's going to have to learn first off a third pitch to be a starting pitcher. And
he's got a 50 grade on that curveball.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get better, obviously. So it's just not necessarily looking like he's a starting pitcher. But yeah, I mean, going back to Thompson, and like I said, everything. I mean, is it possible Zach Thompson is a late bloomer and he could be good? Sure, it's possible. But like you look around Major League Baseball in this day and age, how many right-handed pitchers are there who throw 92-mile-an-hour fastballs and don't strike people out who are having success?
They're DFA'd.
You know, it's just he would be such an anomaly, right? That like those people just don't exist anymore in this day and age of baseball. Like you don't see right-handed pitchers throwing 92 with sustained success. It just doesn't happen. So I'm just not very confident in him. I mean, I said, can he put together a few starts maybe at a time and look competent? Sure, but like we should not be banking on Zach Thompson to be like anchoring this rotation or just, you know, even being in the rotation for a lengthy period of time.
I think what you're banking on there is just pitchability, and I don't know that he's really shown that because the walk rate's not there either. Mm-hmm. Like we have a inflated strikeout rate and a guy that does walk a decent bit of hitters. He's nothing really to get excited about.
I'm not excited about him. Like he had a fine season. Like it was a kudos. Like go to him. Again, I look at this more as like, I mean, imagine just being the Marlins. And I'm sorry, I don't care about hearing about any Marlins people that like, oh, you guys got a good return, or whatever. The Marlins could care less about these guys that they traded. Zach Thompson is meaningless to him. He was literally just a minor league free agent. The White Sox just said, well, you're terrible. You're 25 years old. You can't pitch in AAA. We're going to get rid of you and just move on from you. And the Marlins are cheap as well. And they had nothing to really do as far as pitching, at that point in time. Their prospects were coming up. They're like, yeah, we'll add you. We just need arms and bodies. And he came in and he had a 3.24 ERA, like we said. I mean, he was a starter. He went into the bullpen for the Marlins even. Like, there's just nothing that really stands out to me about Zach Thompson, other than kudos to you for having a 3.24 ERA, and kudos to you for never being a major leaguer in your entire life until you turned 27 years old, and one of the only pitchers in Major League Baseball to strike out 11 guys in your first 4 starts. And then after that, you just didn't strike out anybody.
It's depressing.
It's just, again, like, it's just what it presents. Like, these are the type of players the Pirates already have. The problem, that's your problem. You have all these players. What you need is to get better players. Like, we don't need another Zach Thompson. I understand, and I'm with you too, Jim. I don't foresee Nicholas becoming a starter, but he could be a decent reliever. I fully get that, but you can piece together a bullpen too. I mean, what's that going to cost you in the open market? So is it really worth to get a Zach Thompson? I'm not talking about Connor Scott because, again, I don't care about him. He's nothing to me. He's terrible. But is it really worth it to get these 2 pitchers to lose the window on Brian Reynolds? That's the risk reward, right? These 2 pitchers mean more to me than having good baseball teams with Brian Reynolds. That's what the Stollings trade presents. That's literally what it comes down to. So everyone that's going wild about this, and you guys are terrible, you guys are stupid, it's Stallings, who cares? This is the right move. He's 32 years old. You're telling me these 2 guys were way more important to this organization than winning with Brian Reynolds? That sounds asinine to me. Give me Brian Reynolds every day and not these 2 guys.
Dude, I already said it. Like, Jacob Stallings was actually important. More important than most people realize. Throw the war out the window. A catcher that is like him is beyond important to a staff that's about to be as young as they could be or should be. And we've heard Michael McHenry on this podcast talk about it. How important he is to this team. Instead, we get Roberto Perez, who might get DFA'd within 3 weeks.
Well, I don't think he will. There's no one else to take his spot.
It could be a Rod Barajas. Barajas.
Is that a problem for a team that is going to stink and you want them to stink because that's your goal, is to stink? The Pirates are fighting for a number 1 pick. That's what they're fighting for. We want to talk about what they're fighting for all this time on Twitter these past few weeks. They're fighting for a number 1 pick.
How many years we got to do this? It's frustrating.
Meanwhile, the Cubs sign Jan Gomes. They sign Marcus Stroman. Like, they're retooling. They're saying, let's go. It's probably not going to be this year, right? Makes sense. But let's add. Let's. For them, they're saying we're going to make 2023 our year.
Like, there's Brewers a good chance that those guys stink. But they, at least at the deadline, I think their returns were better. We've gone through the Sherrington trades.
We did.
Not good. Not good. Thank God for the lockout.
Buckle Mike, back-to-back Gold Gloves, 39% caught stealing in his career. Like, I get that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, defensively, I don't foresee a drop-off. Probably might be an improvement. Slight improvement, if so. But that offense is a complete liability. Just a complete liability. It's a black hole. You're going to have Kevin Newman and Roberto Perez batting back-to-back. Kill me.
Well, and for a team that already is extremely lacking in offensive talent, it was nice to have a catcher who wasn't a black hole, right? And we're not saying that Stallings was great, but he could handle himself up there, you know?
Yes. Below average, but not extreme. You know, he's not the greatest
He
hitter.
was not an embarrassment.
Right. That's all you can ask for. What he presents defensively is really, really good. He's not a liability offensively, and I can take that. Otherwise, you have Kevin Newman. I don't care how good his defense is. He's a liability on offense, and he's nothing. Like if Roberto Perez has a positive WAR this year, that's a positive. Because he's probably going to have a 0 WAR, just like Kevin Newman. He's going to have such good defense, such terrible offense, and he's going to equate to nothing. Jacob Stallings is almost a 3 WAR player. How are they the same stratosphere?
And you pay one more than the other.
And you paid more than the other. Are we done talking about the Stallings specific trade?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add there.
All right. Let's make it worse. So let's talk about the MLB lockout.
Is it worse?
It's official. The Pirates will not be adding any more players to the team in the foreseeable future. But the good thing is neither will anyone else. And apparently the Astros also did not add Verlander also. So there's that too. And then who did the Padres try to sign, but they couldn't get in time? Someone else is in limbo right now. Good times for baseball, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw it coming, so it's not like this is a surprise or anything. But yeah, now we get to deal with this fun topic all off season, and hopefully it's just the off season and it doesn't sprinkle into spring training and affect the season. I really don't want like a second shortened season out of 3 years. Like that would suck. Maybe not suck that bad considering how the Pirates are doing, but I don't know. I like baseball. I like when it's on, so I'd prefer it to be on. And yeah, lockout sucks. I am actually confident that like something will get done before spring training. Like I don't think the owners really want to miss any time. I think the players are in a position where they can, so I think the owners concede on some things. I think at the end of the day, the players are going to end up winning this, though. I think they're ready. Like they've been the players have been gearing up for this for a few years now. They're ready to go. But yeah, I mean, dig your heels in. It's going to be a whole off season of just stupid stories from reporters, just leaking negotiations, and all we're going to hear all off season is just stupid things that both sides want. And
no, it's going to be complete anti-player.
It's going to suck. I mean, yeah, there's already a lot of anti-player stuff going on. I feel like it's weird. Like the mainstream national media seems to not be pro player, but then when you if you're following like the more indie reporters who aren't, MLB Network or Fox or ESPN, they seem to be more pro player. So, if you follow everybody, you'll get your fair share of everything. But yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that all off season now. And it's just not a fun topic. Like we could talk about like, say, hey, what are some things that we would do to change the game? Right. That's kind of fun, but this isn't fun because just both sides don't like each other. And
that's an understatement.
Yeah. Both sides don't like each other. And this is just what we're going to hear for a while is just, both sides are going to be leaking things and none of it's going to sound good.
I'm okay with the lockout. I'm okay with missing the season. I don't care. I don't want to watch this team. Dude, I don't want to watch this team next year.
Like, I get that. I get that. And some people made that comment. Like, is this the worst case scenario for the Pirates? Like, if there was a full season lost, could that actually benefit the Pirates? So I understand that aspect, but all in all, I'm sorry. Like, no baseball is not good for baseball. Just point blank, doesn't matter.
No, it's awful.
You lose baseball, you lose interest. We've seen this before, the strike. Like that, no baseball is not good for baseball, period. No matter who team you root for, what market you're in. You know, like I get, I don't have to watch the Pirates. Like that's cool to say. That's fun to say. That does probably save you. You could probably do more things that are actually more enjoyable. You know, like you probably don't enjoy yourself watching the Pirates. You're going to watch them because it's your team, or you just enjoy PNC Park. But you can find, like, I'm going to go do something else tonight. I'm going to go to a movie. I feel free. I can do what I want. But you know what it turns out? Well, you know what? Me being free from the Pirates, I kind of like this. Let me just be free from going forward. And you lose fans. It's not good for the game.
Absolutely. It's awful for the game, and I truthfully do think that baseball is in the worst position they have been in since '94. I've tweeted it, but the game is borderline unwatchable right now. Rob Manfred has shown he is an absolute buffoon. He is an idiot.
Time again.
Like, this guy has no idea what he's doing, and they hate each other so much, and it all started. Well, it started a while ago, but it really amplified last year during the COVID negotiations, which we spoke about, and it's just going to another level.
Yeah, and I want to talk about because I saw this on Twitter a little bit too, where people were like, maybe it's actually best case scenario if the Pirates don't play, and you got to remember that as bad as this major league team is, and yeah, it probably wouldn't be terrible to not watch them for a year. Everybody on the 40-man roster is locked out, so that means O'Neal Cruz loses a year of development. Liver Peguero loses a year of development. Roansy Contreras loses a year. All these people who you need to be playing baseball next year won't be playing baseball next year. We already know what the COVID year did for these guys, right? I mean,
they've already
basically it set everybody back a year already. By doing this, it's then losing a whole other year for these guys. So all those people who the Pirates are relying on, you don't want them missing another year.
Very good point.
Yeah, but it's a year of not having to watch that shithole team.
But if the ultimate goal is to not be a shithole team, you need O'Neal Cruz, you need Peguero, you need Contreras to all play.
Jim. They're going to be a shithole team no matter what we do here.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about 2022. I'm talking about 2023, 2024, 2025.
I'm talking about my lifetime. They're going to be a shithole team. This is what
Tyler's
we do.
the George Costanza.
We talk about them.
He's like, nothing good can ever come to my life. I have to just expect the worst because
they're going to suck.
Lately, but yeah, the one episode, he's like, if this is going to be good, then I know God's striking me down dead right now because nothing good can happen to me.
Oh, please do.
I'm kind of curious too, like, and I haven't read anything about this, but like, if there is a 1 year lockout, does that affect like service time?
Ethan,
this is an Ethan question.
Are you through my iPad right now?
Because
I don't feel like that's been decided.
Because that would be something where, like, hey, did we just lose a year of Brian Reynolds and Q Brian Hayes, or like, do we get to bump them back another year?
I think that's more of a. I mean, that's like part of what's on the table.
That would have to be bargained, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like part of what's on the table of the whole free agency.
And every player is going to say, we want that service time. So,
yeah.
So, yes, we've lost.
But then another thing is like, how do you count that for the guys on the four? Like, does O'Neal Cruz get a full year of service time?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Because he's on the 40-man. You know, so
because he could have service time manipulation taking place next year.
Right.
Pirates are like, we can't give a full year. We're going to manipulate that shit.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I mean, I guess what Tyler said, it would have to be that would be a part of the agreement.
Ethan is here.
Somehow.
Ethan is here. He's saving the day. So to quote Ethan, he says, I haven't read it and I don't know precedent, but if I had to guess, I definitely think it could count.
You would assume that that's going to be a
Yikes.
major sticking point if they miss a year.
I would think so.
I did like the Mike Bursack tweet of Jordan Lyles getting signed by the Orioles and saying, if everything hits the fan, basically, this could be the last signing of Major League Baseball history. Jordan Lyles.
Be a good trivia question. Like, what if Major League Baseball just folds and the Players Association creates their own league and just says, screw you guys, we're just gonna make our own league?
I have my thoughts on that. But yep, that could happen.
And so then Jordan Lyles would be the last ever player to sign for Major League Baseball.
It really
People
is
still be
amazing, though.
pissed off. Our fans.
Man, it's amazing how much the owners just really screwed their good faith last year
Oh yeah.
during the COVID negotiations.
I mean,
Like they all hate each other more than ever.
Well, the biggest thing just is the discrepancies between revenues and payrolls just haven't paralleled each other, right? I mean, we've seen payroll has not gone up overall the last like 5 years. But what have team revenues done, right? Team revenues break records
plummeted,
every
Jim.
year. Oh, yeah.
They've lost the billions and billions of dollars in 2020. They've plummeted. They're poor.
But I think, one of the big sticking points here is, the owners have been making all this money outside of baseball, right? With BAMTech, and they're talking about selling their additional,
Thank
shares
God for that
they
rainy
have
day
of it.
fund they have for that.
Right. So all this money that the owners made on this, players didn't see any of it. All this TV revenue deal that just kicked in, we're not seeing it being reflected on payrolls. And I know Pittsburgh fans want to kind of Pittsburgh fans are I'm going to try to choose my words wisely here.
I know.
It's like
Pittsburgh fans
exactly
want
what
to
you're saying.
side. We want to side with the owners, but we can't.
Pittsburgh fans hate Bob Nutting so much and blame Bob Nutting for all of this team's, failures. But then at the same time, they want to do exactly what Bob Nutting wants to do. So it's like, okay, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, guys. And like there was a tweet today, right? And a lot of people got upset about it. Joe Sheehan, wrote out his first sentence was, the easiest fix to all of this is to contract the Pirates, right? And then he said, if you look across baseball, and this is the contracting thing, right? That was a shock sentence, right? But he followed it up with saying, across baseball, there are no other organizations or owners who have refused to dump money into payroll at any point in time over the course of the last 2 decades, right? And like people were like, well, the Orioles are just as bad. The Orioles had $180 million payroll 3 years ago. Like the Orioles and the Pirates are not the same thing. Are the Orioles tanking right now? Absolutely. But the Orioles, it's not like the Orioles have never tried to spend money before. The Pirates really, they're the only team that have just never spent money. Ever.
I would throw the A's and the Rays in that conversation.
Yeah. The difference is the A's
Orioles
and Rays
are
have been
not.
consistently good. Like that's why I feel like get the pass. Yeah. It's like, well, you don't spend, but we can't really harp on you because you're putting out a winning team. Well, the Pirates don't spend, and it's not a winning team. So now there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So I think as a Pirates fan, it's more of a, we all hate Bob Nutting. You just said it. But at this point, we know what Bob Nutting is. So we just have to hope for whatever makes our team competitive. And unfortunately, as much as it could hurt the game, it actually probably wouldn't hurt the game, but as much as it hurts the players, a salary cap might be our best option. And I really don't want a salary cap because it does hurt the players so much. And I'm tired of watching all the owners rake in the dough. But at this point, it's just, I don't care. I just want to watch my sport and enjoy it.
I'm down. I've kind of said my piece on this. Floor has to exist, and I'm cool with it being like a soft cap. If you want to spend more, then do it. You have the ability to. You want to do it. I'm not going to stop you from doing it. But there has to be some kind of type of revenue sharing, because again, this is one of my biggest things too. And like Jim, what you're talking about, loose of it, like everyone hates Bob Nutting, and I get it. But if you hate Bob Nutting, why don't you hate George Steinbrenner? You talk about revenues and payrolls. The Yankees had a payroll in 2005 of $200 million. Like they've operated for like 15 years of $200 million. They can spend $200 million in 2005. Why are they putting these dog shit, rotations together and such? You know what I mean? Like they're not clearly for George Steinbrenner right now. Winning is good enough. It's not the ultimate goal. They haven't really won, right? They have a good enough, as long as they're in the constraints. They're not going to go over that luxury tax. They're not going to pay any extra than they really have to. They can absolutely do it. Like George Steinbrenner is just as cheap as Bob Nutting. It's just he has more resources to put out a better team year in and year out. And again, I understand we're all getting, like, no one's expecting the Pirates to, of course, put in and have this high payroll every year. Like the biggest difference with Bob Nutting, he's very risk adverse. He's not going to really invest. He's going to have this amount of money, this dollar amount. That's it. Boom, done. Let's move forward. But that is his problem, right? When the time's to go, you don't really invest to really put out there and extend it and really go. But like with George Steinbrenner, I mean, he can afford a $400 million payroll. He can afford a $400 million payroll, like easily. He chooses not to. He keeps it at 200 some, so he doesn't go over the luxury tax to pay any extra. He's just as cheap. The Yankees aren't doing anything. They're piecing, like they spend like this enormous amount of money on some players, and they piece together some other stuff. And that rotation's been terrible for how many, not terrible, but again, nothing great. He gets away with it because, well, they're the big market. They spend money, but really, they don't. They don't spend money. They spend like the same percentage, the same amount of their revenues as like Bob Nutting really does. So again, like this is a whole owner problem. I get Bob Nutting sucks, and it really sucks because he's also on a smaller market team. But every 25 out of 30 owners also suck. And you know what? We're seeing it right now too in this whole negotiation. Like they're all terrible. You should hate every single one of them. And that's the problem. They all have the upper hand. And like what Tyler's getting at, that's why I fully believe too, like something has to change with these economics. It's not working. It's not. The owners are taking all kinds of money. They're crying poor all the time. They're using the rules in their benefit. I just can't believe a professional athlete, the first 3 years of playing the sport, he could be really, really good, probably don't even make over $2 million in that entire time there. Meanwhile, the guy that gets drafted in the NFL's got a $40 million contract.
It's not really apples to apples, but
it's not. But I mean, think about this. You could be an all-star for 3 years and you haven't even made $2 million.
Yeah.
And that's why these guys are going after, and the owners are playing into that. Well, you got to wait 7 years to get paid. So I'm going to go ahead and I know I'm going to pay you under market for this extension, right? That's how you scoop up Ronald Acuna and underpay the hell out of him because you're playing the system that you already have that's broken. It plays already into your favor.
You're right, but the players or the MLBPA is not blameless in this whole thing. They absolutely ignore everything but their top earners. They care about the guys that make the most, and they really, really don't care about the guys coming up. And I mean, I know the MLBPA can't really represent minor leaguers, but they could do something, man.
So I'll agree with you on a certain thing. Like, it seems like the big name guys are the heavyweights in the union, right? Like you look at most union reps, they're players who have been in the league for 10 years and they've all made their money, basically.
Just
right?
like Jacob Stallings.
Just like, yeah. The problem is, like, the Pirates union rep is never going to be one of those guys because they don't have any of those guys.
Right.
So, yeah, but that's so you do have that aspect. But I will say, I think, the owners in general, and I was reading something today, the owners in general, I think, are completely fine shelling out huge amounts of money to megastars, right? Like, I don't really think that that's not an issue for them whatsoever. They do not have a problem paying Max Scherzer $40 million. They don't have a problem paying Mike Trout $40 million. What the owners are digging their heels on, and what they don't want to do, is they want to make sure that, yeah, those people will make their money, but they want those pre-arb guys and those arb guys to be as suppressed as possible, right? And I mean, you heard Rob Manfred's statement was, they had to lock out the players in order for teams to remain competitive, right? And the reason being is because the union, I feel like they do finally now realize this, because what has happened is the union kind of screwed themselves here, right? They agreed to this system. And so now what has happened is the owners have gotten a little smarter, and yeah, they are paying those top tier guys, whatever. That's not the issue. But what they're not doing is they're not paying the Chad Cools of the world, right? Who is probably worth $2 or $3 million, right? But why pay Chad Cool $2 or $3 million, even though he has 5 years of experience and he's an average major leaguer, when you can get a Chad Cool for $500,000, right? So the owners have realized, hey, we can just pick up anybody, like just scoop up people from the minors, pay them $500,000. There's not really much of a difference between them and this 4 or 5, 6 year veteran. But I'm going to be able to save $3 million here, save $3 million here, save $3 million here, right? And all that adds up. The average lifespan of a major leaguer has dropped. I want to say it's about 30% over the last 20 years. So players are not playing as long as they used to. And the reason is because they can't get a contract after a certain period of time. Yep. Whereas before, teams would pay that veteran fifth starter, whatever it was, because that's what he's worth on the open market, right? But now you've got teams shifting and saying, I want as many of these pre-arb guys as possible because they're cheap. And the union's now saying, well, hold on a second. Now you're basically suppressing service time just in a different way, right? You don't see a lot of people reaching 10 years of service time anymore, because once they hit that 6-7 year range, if they're not really good, teams don't want them. So that's the issue. And I think the union has finally realized, hey, we did make a mistake with the system in the past. We do need our players to make more money their first few years in the major leagues. That money needs to be spread to them a little bit more than it has been. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays, because I think that's going to be a key factor. Like the players want to hit free agency earlier, and they want to get paid more for their most productive years, which now the most productive years of major leaguers' careers are really those first 5 or 6 years.
Right.
So it's going to be a battle, because the owners are not going to want to give that up. Like they are not going to want to give up that cheap labor that they have access to right now. And the players I think they're sick of it. So thus we're in this situation.
I just don't really see a solution right now. The only solution that will happen is a minor compromise on what's currently happening. Because what the owners want is an absolute overhaul, basically. And I just can't see that happening. And I don't see them taking the loss that will require that.
I feel so. You mentioned how the players have never been more united, right? And they're probably going to win. I feel the owners have never been in a better position to say we can afford not playing. You know, I mean, let's be honest. I know COVID happened, and I'm not. There were losses. I understand that. Like, you know what? Apologize. Let me correct it. There weren't as high revenues. They like to put it as losses, right? They took a loss. No, they didn't make as much money. So I understand that what they're probably banking on making in 2020 didn't happen. But these owners are making so much money right now that it's not like in 94, you know, or whatever. If they've lost the whole entire year, well, now we might struggle. These owners have never been in a better position to lose out on a full season's worth of baseball. So that's why I feel like some people are optimistic. I don't know. I'm on the fence on either. I can see both things happening because ultimately for both sides, a win is to play the season, right? Both want to play. But I think both have also never been in a better position to be as united and foot down, we're sticking to this. F you if we don't get it. And we've seen this building up over time. You know, I know my point of view of it, a lot of it's come on the owner side. Now, yes, the players were playing really, really hard ball. They could have conceded on some things in the whole COVID situation too. Both sides are at fault for some things, but to me, the majority of it is the owners. And again, I think both sides are at that standstill point, that they're not budging. And it's going to be who breaks first. And I don't know if either want to.
Yeah, I mean, I read today too. So Major League Baseball still owns 15% of BAMTech.
Yep.
And that's valuated right now, valued at about $750 million. So it's one of those things where if the owners wanted to, they could just, hey, we're going to Disney, we'll sell you the remaining shares, $750 million split between 30 owners, right? That's $25 million everybody just made this year. And hey, there's not even any expenses this year because there's no baseball. So the owners kind of have that in their back pocket that they've got $25 million each just sitting there.
They also get royalties
want to use it
off it too. So it's not even just 25, it's 25 that they would make plus the royalties that they're still getting every single year for that. Because that's
they would lose
exploded.
out royalties, right? If you sell the shares, then you're
that's
out,
true.
Right?
That's true.
So, but if they were like, you know what, we need, you know, they kind of have that fund almost sitting there, where if they need to do it, they can sell those shares, and boom, $750 million right there for the owners, right? I don't really foresee why they would need that. It's not like they're paying rent or anything on half of these ballparks. So, I mean, I mean, you still got expenses in the form of like staff, and you know, they're still gonna have to. They don't pay minor leaguers anything to begin with, but there's going to be some minor league expenses. But yeah, there's not a whole lot that they're going to need money for.
And I'm just waiting till we get the replacement players.
And on top of that, Jim, you know, I mean, you have Wrigleyville just bringing in money for you. Like, you don't need baseball. You have your restaurants and your hotels and all this other stuff you're making money on, because it's not about baseball anymore. These are real estate companies.
Yeah. Which,
so
again,
who
the players
cares if we don't have a season?
About.
Right.
Again, the players, if the owners are using all this money that the players are generating to go out there and do other ventures, the players are like, hey, we deserve a cut of that. And the owners are saying, no, this is real estate. This isn't baseball. You don't get that. So it's going to be a big mess. I'm just not looking forward to any of this.
And again, it counts. It doesn't count when they're making money, But when they lose money, then it counts like in 2020 because the Cubs, they had a construction they had to put money into and they weren't making money off of it. So they lost money. So it counts now.
Right.
Funny how that works.
There's a reason we've been discussing this for at least 2 years. The lockout coming. And it's about to get bad.
And that's true. And so officially welcome Dave White. He's in the YouTube chat. He said he found us, I think, a few days ago or something, watching us. So welcome. But yeah, he points out here too, Pirates don't even make money from parking, and that's true. Like, so I mean, like everything just rains on the Pirates, you know.
Just like
everything that
really
could be
bad
wrong
deal.
and bad. Yeah, I mean, they don't even have their own parking, you know.
Poor Pirates.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a reason that our owner runs a newspaper company, like the most dying industry in this nation.
Well, it's very profitable the way that he does it. So,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
My old man works for him.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to say with it. I think I know that people are like, well, it's millionaires versus billionaires. Like at least half of major leaguers probably aren't millionaires. So you got to kind of think of this like, and it is different from like another like any normal labor dispute, right? Like if you get off the plane at the airport and you know the janitors are all picketing outside the terminal, it's like this isn't the same, right? Like their livelihoods are being affected way more than these baseball players. Like I get that. So like I sort of understand how some people don't, you know, feel sympathy for the players. It is hard to feel sympathy for players who are, you know, fighting over their minimum wage of $500,000, right? I get that. Like, you know, we're all people working regular jobs, and we would love to be having a minimum wage of $500,000. But, you know, at the end of the day, it just kind of comes down to like, it's a matter of principles. Like first off, Major League Baseball is nothing without these players. Like they are the product. They deserve their fair share, just like we all deserve our fair share at the jobs that we work, right? And so it's no different with them than it is with us in that aspect. Yeah, the dollars and cents are a little different, but like at the end of the day, the players deserve what they deserve, and they should get that. So that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I mean, we've discussed at length as nobody here likes Bob Nutting. If Bob Nutting thinks something is the best idea for his franchise, we shouldn't trust that that's the best idea for baseball, right? It's how does that make sense? I mean, if something is good for Bob Nutting, I'm not necessarily saying it's good for baseball. It's good for Bob Nutting if Bob Nutting thinks it's good for Bob Nutting.
Could not agree with you more there, Jim. No real reason to really expand upon it.
Yeah.
We're all on the same page.
For sure. This is going to be, I don't know. Manfred says he's hopeful February. I don't foresee this happening anytime before February. Like that's when it's pitchers and catchers need to start reporting, you know. That's when it's starting to be go
year
time.
Of Tommy Johns.
We need to get things going and settled so we can start playing baseball. But there's no reason to beforehand. And again, I feel both of them are super entrenched on their stance of what they want to have and what they need to get out of this. I don't foresee this happening anytime before February.
I mean, there's really no sense of urgency on either side's part to do that. It's right now it's not affecting anything, you know? So yeah, if something happens, I'm not foreseeing it until February at the earliest.
So how about this? We got a little bit of time here left, right? We have plenty of time. We have till February at least to talk all about this. So we'll save some. But let's talk about, so to end this on a positive note, all right? Something that was fun, maybe not so much as Pirate fans seeing Pirate transactions, but something that was fun was like the free agency blast that we had this week. I mean, we've never seen this as baseball, at least us. I've never seen anything like this in baseball. Like the one downside of baseball is you see this winter meetings picks up, and that's kind of fun. That's kind of cool because you see some stuff, and then it just drags out. You have like 4 or 5 months of signings, where this week was just lit. I mean, just signing after signing and signing. So let's talk about that because Jimmy had some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, it's one of those things where I feel like baseball off season and free agency just doesn't really get too wild, because it's pretty evenly spread out where you get some deals in November, December, January, February, March. There's this like 6-month window where everything happens, and it's all spread out. Other sports, right? We talk about just sometimes like the NBA just like goes on these like crazy transaction days where it's just like the most insane thing in the world. Every single superstar in the entire sport is switching teams on the same day, and they're being traded for each other, and there's all this stuff happening, right? And it's like this big flurry of stuff.
Oh, you stay up till midnight that night.
Yeah, so it's like it's an event, right? And just baseball doesn't have that. And what was cool about this is that it basically made an artificial transaction deadline for teams. It was like a whole brand new trade deadline was like magically put on December 1st. And it was nuts. Like this past weekend and the days surrounding it was like just insane. So many huge free agents deals. There were trades being made. Like it was like that was the most fun off-season portion that I've seen in any baseball offseason ever. So it got me thinking. I was like, is there a way to like duplicate this, but not have a work stoppage every year? And so yeah, I don't know if it's something that could even physically happen because like I don't know, because it almost would act like an artificial lockout almost, but like it would be really cool to have like in college football, they have like an early signing period, and then there's a dead period, and then there's another signing period, like in college football. So like maybe do that for baseball, where it's like, okay, there you can sign by December 1st, and then then everybody's off for winter meetings and Christmas and all that stuff, and there's no more transactions allowed until February 15th, right? And then you kind of have this flurry of stuff happening then. So I don't know. It's a cool idea. I don't know if it could ever actually happen in the real world, but give me more of these like deadlines for transactions because it was fun.
Jim, I really, really, really wanted to hate it whenever you text us about it. I don't hate it. I really don't. And I was trying while you were talking to find a way to not like it. I mean, you're not wrong, because then we don't have guys like Bryce Harper getting signed in late January and February. We don't have Dallas Keuchel out there hanging around till middle of the season. It probably helps players more, which we're a pro player podcast.
Pro player. There we are. There's our tagline. North Shore 9, a pro player podcast.
Pro player podcast.
The PPP.
Like what it was cool. Yeah, what if it was cool just like on December 1st at midnight? It was like, all right, everything's done.
I mean, it used to be that way though.
Okay.
And then owners got smart.
So I'll put it this way. I love this week. I was kind of with you too, Tyler. Like I'm listening to Jim. I like the idea of it. I don't know if I've digested enough to really think like logistically if this is good or not, right? But I like the idea. And I just kind of feel like the deadline should be the Friday of the winter meetings. Like how perfect. I think that's the one thing that's unique about baseball is they have the winter meetings. Like there's nothing about the NFL in the offseason where everyone gets together and you have actual like NFL coverage all week. I guess the combine's the closest to that, but that's real like prospects more or less. You know, with the NBA, there's really nothing like that. You watch MLB Network for that whole week. And the point of it really is, I know it's a minor league thing for the most part, but it is because all the owners are together and a lot of transactions happen because everyone's there. So like, what if you had it that Friday? Thursday's the Rule 5. You get the extra day. Every year, the Friday after the winter meetings is that deadline. I think that would just heighten the winter meetings, the coverage. Now you have everyone in whatever they are at, Nashville, DC, Orlando, you know what I mean? All these stuff are happening. You have the coverage there. I think that would be amazing. But, fellas, Ethan chimed in. So Ethan is telling us, womp, womp, womp. No, he goes, deadlines create take it or leave it for the players, which is bad. I kind of get that. I get that.
Yes,
this is the best offer. Do I risk the next signing period or do I take this now? I get that.
Ethan, I said this is a pro player podcast. I am redacting that. We are a pro fam podcast.
So Ethan brings up a point, and it's really the point that I was thinking in terms of, would this be something that I would like? Because you are going to have a lot of things like that where it's like, hey, here's your offer. You can either take this or you can gamble and wait until February, right? And maybe somebody will need you, maybe somebody won't. So that is where logistically I don't really like it. But from a fan standpoint, that's not really all I'm saying is like these last few days were super fun having like that artificial deadline in place. Because it was so much stuff happening. It was like as soon as one deal was done, you'd say something about it, and then the next deal would come in. It was just like back to back to back to back to back stuff would happen.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining. You usually don't have a lot of entertainment around Major League Baseball in late November, early December. But we had it this year, and it was fun.
I'm sorry. Well, so yeah, Ethan does come back, says I'm pointing out both sides. And he says he loved last week too. And I get it. And that's why I do appreciate it. Of course, you had to come down here and rain on the parade because we were all, loving this idea. But, you are right. That's what I didn't really think of. That could be the downfall. But last week was great. And Bucko Mike chimes in and says, you guys are a pro Bucko Mike podcast. Absolutely false.
True.
Absolutely false.
Absolutely true.
I would love to have Bucko Mike on as a guest, but he just refuses to do it. I want Bucko Mike on the podcast.
I want
I've been
Bucko
wanting him on
Mike's
for 5 years.
suggestion on the podcast.
What if Bucko Mike just came on and he just started rapping? Like, what if he was like our post-podcast concert?
He's going to be our intro song. We're gonna lay it on the track. He's gonna come on. He's gonna be the official NS9 intro song.
Yeah, that's what we need.
I'm down
Post
for it.
Malone, Mike.
I feel like he could write a pretty good intro.
He could. He could write an intro.
Yeah,
he could write an intro.
Something about shaving Jim's dirty beard.
Yep.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was cool. Maybe there's something that we can put together that, we're worried about a CBA right now. This is the last thing, but it's like, maybe there's something that could be worked out that you could make it more entertaining because this was great. And honestly, if the CBA wasn't looming and that was the problem that they had to make all this stuff, like this was good for baseball. Everyone's talking about baseball. Like what a great week. It's the off season, right? NFL's going on, NBA's going on, NHL's going on, and baseball's dominating the news right now. It's good. I just wish it wasn't because baseball's terrible, actually, and now there's a lockout.
And we have an owner that's talking about removing all the name, image, and likeness of players.
Which was a legality thing.
He's such a moron. Just everything he says is so stupid.
Well, fellas, anything we want to add to the show here?
We'll talk about the lockout for the next 8 weeks, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing. One thing I guess we can say is I saw this today. Gregory Polanco is not locked out, by the way, because he's not on a 40-man. So
Good for him.
He's still a free agent. He can be signed at any point in time. So, if the Pirates want to bring him on as on a minor league deal.
He might be a replacement player next year.
Say that. We're going into the replacements, right? All the people that were so excited to get rid of Gregory Polanco, and he's starting in right field again. No, he's starting in center field next year for the
But
Pirates.
Here's the thing. Gregory Polanco would probably crush the ball off some replacement pitchers.
Oh, he would be a 10-WAR player in the replacement.
He'd be the league MVP. He'd be league MVP.
It's the only hope we have.
One interesting thought I had though, like let's say no replacement players, but Altuna's gonna be playing, Indianapolis is gonna be playing. Let's say it does affect the season. It would be pretty cool to see like the Altoona curve play in PNC Park a few times.
I feel like that's a violation of labor law somehow.
That could be arranged.
Would it, Tyler? That's what I'm thinking of now too.
I don't know. Someone smarter than me will tell me, but
what's the difference from like WPIL games being played there?
I feel like there's got to be something in there.
They're renting out PNC Park.
You would think that like on just a regular season, you could just have Altoona come and play there for a series. I wouldn't.
It's not a regular season though.
So who cares?
There's people smarter than me that can figure that out.
I don't know. But the one thing though,
Ethan?
I guess if you had to look forward to anything, maybe it means MLB.TV like actually becomes a legit thing that people care about, and they can maybe not broadcast games like they're on flip phones because maybe people will want to watch them.
That's what has to come out. So, and a lot of negative things, something positive comes out of it, right? That's what has to happen this year. In the light of this lockout, MILB actually puts a product into their streaming service, right?
Right.
And you get actually decent coverage. I like that. By the way, Gabe Higgins comments, he says, Billy Joel can play there. Why not the curve?
Yeah. If Billy Joel can play there, so can the curve. I think Donnie Iris is on one of the promotions too, isn't it? Oh, Donnie Iris, he's there for
Donnie Iris is on the promotion every year.
It's the Clarks. The Clarks are there for Yinzer.
Oh, they're on that every year too.
For Yinzer Day. Yeah.
Love me some Donnie Iris.
Are the
Clarks
pierogies locked out? Like, what if they still did pierogi races every day? Just in an empty city.
Every day at 8:05, they just do like a pierogi race. Robbie comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some
covers
right
it.
there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be great.
We need something.
We do need something. Bucko Mike. So Bucko Mike responds to the intro song. He says, ingredients of an intro song. 1, Jim Love of Kentucky Sports. 2, Donardo Jorts. And 3, Tyler. Never mind. Try to keep this as PG as possible. So yeah.
Trying to think of what rhymes with that.
Yeah, so anyways. Is that it? Is that the show?
Yeah, I think so. That's all I got.
We didn't really talk about this behind the scenes, and now I'm thinking about it on air because I want to tell everyone. I mean, unfortunately, this might change stuff for us. Like, I'm thinking now, I don't know, is there going to be a Starbucks every week now? Because, geez, guys, what the hell are we going to say Tuesday morning about the Pirates? We got some unknowns. NS9 Live will definitely be playing every
minor league stuff.
every Thursday.
Yeah,
But
I mean, the one thing that this will give us the opportunity, at least on this show, is like we have a whole off season of like we can talk about how do you fix baseball. We can talk about that a lot.
right. For sure. So yeah, so we'll still have NS9 Live every Thursday. That's a for sure.
I'm sure you'll
if
have
you,
Starbucks next week because something will come out.
If you check our NFT stuff, our NS9 NFT will still be on Mondays. But for Starbucks on Tuesday mornings, I don't know if we'll be doing that every week because I don't know if we have content for 2 shows a week, especially one all Pirates related. There's no Pirate news. So stay tuned, but you'll definitely see us next Thursday. So I guess with that said, bye-bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Later, guys.